Hey guys, welcome to today's video in which we will go over the latest updates about the FIBA World Cup 2023 Championship. And boy, what a tournament it has been so far. I can't wait to tell you more about it. But before we get started, make sure to like this video and hit the subscribe button for any upcoming content. Alright, so before we talk about the quarterfinals, which are literally on fire, I'm gonna go over the round of 16 and the group stage surprises that we've seen so far in the tournament. I'm gonna start with Group A. Group A, which have the host nation, the Philippines, play against Dominican Republic, Italy, and Angola. Didn't have much of a surprise, I would say. It was just a bit of a disappointment for the Filipino fans who had higher hopes from Jordan Clarkson and the team overall to qualify for the next round. But we can comfortably see that the Dominican Republic, led by Karl Anthony Towns, and Italy managed to easily cruise away into the second round from Group A. Moving on to Group B, we knew that Serbia was gonna go and be the first in this group after competing with Puerto Rico, South Sudan, and China. But the second place in this group was not really easy to figure out. It was a very intense competition between South Sudan and Puerto Rico, which, by the way, South Sudan just booked their automatic qualifier spot into the Olympics next year in Paris. So it was a very tight competition, but at the end of the day, I would say the experience of Puerto Rico trumped the skill of South Sudan and made them be second in that group. If we talk about Group C, the group of the Dream Team, we had a couple of easy games, I would say, for the Team USA. They didn't really find much of an issue in overcoming Greece, New Zealand, and Jordan. Greek basketball is no longer at the peak that it was in earlier, so it was an easy win there for USA beating these three teams. Group D, Lithuania, Montenegro, Egypt, and Mexico. Lithuania, who have a stellar record in the FIBA Basketball World Cup and EuroLeague, managed to comfortably cruise away from competition in this group. The second, I would say, rank in this group was not really easy to figure out. Egypt and Montenegro were competing head-to-head on that one, but ultimately Montenegro managed to clinch the second spot. I'll talk about Group E quickly. We had a couple of upsets there. Japan, the Japanese Samurai, came out big in the game against Finland. And I would say they won the most important game of the tournament for the Japanese fans, because this was the game that helped them go into the Olympics and win the only seat that the Asian continent has for direct qualification into the Paris Olympics in 2024. It was a very heated battle between Germany and Australia. Both were jam-packed with NBA players, but ultimately Dennis Schroeder and his team managed to prove to the world that they're in this tournament not for a trip. They're here to compete hard, and maybe go for the title. And you can see that the Germans are now in the quarterfinals of the tournament. Group F, Slovenia, Georgia, Cape Verde, and Venezuela. I would say it was one of the least challenging groups in the tournament. Slovenia managed to cruise comfortably and win 3 games in that group. Group G, which had the title holders, Spain, compete against Brazil, Cote d'Ivoire, and Iran. Also had Spain comfortably, I would say, cruise in this group and secure the first spot. It was very expected also for Brazil to be second in that group, given the level of play and players and skills that they have compared to the Ivory Coast and Iran. And lastly, Group H, which was the group of death in the beginning of the tournament. Everyone was expecting Canada and France to go into the second round, but guess what? France was knocked out of that group after losing to Canada and Latvia. And also they just slightly, marginally won Lebanon in the last 2 minutes of the game. And Latvia has been putting one heck of a performance so far in the tournament. I mean, it's been really surreal. Although Kristaps Porzingis is not there, but they managed to prove that their basketball is the up and coming in Europe. And they also made it to the quarterfinal, which I'll cover in a bit. In the round of 16, we saw some big surprises. The teams that made it past the group stage were split into 4 groups, I, J, K, and L. And we saw in Group I, Italy and Serbia clearly dominate with 4 wins and only 1 loss. Group J, we saw one of the biggest shockers. Team USA, who lost against Lithuania, was super close to lose again against Montenegro. And if that had happened, then we would have seen the dream team out of the FIBA World Cup just in the round of 16. But the USA managed to get it together. They won Montenegro by 5 points and they managed to make it to the quarterfinal. Group K was on fire. The Boomers, Australia, had high hopes. They wanted to make some unforeseen, I would say, upsets, maybe knock out Slovenia or Germany out of the World Cup. But this did not happen. Luka Magic came on top with Slovenia, and Schroeder just continued his tremendous performance in this World Cup, winning all of the 5 games for Germany. They had a 5-0 run in the tournament, and they managed to comfortably cruise into the quarterfinals. Group L, the Spaniards wanted to defend their title, but guess what? Latvia was there and also Canada was there, and they both gave the Spaniards a tough time. Spain lost both games against Canada and Latvia. Latvia is continuing their fairy tale dream this World Cup, and they managed to make it to the quarterfinals by sealing the 2nd spot after Canada, who have had one amazing run so far with Shea Alexander and Brooks. It's really spectacular to see how these teams are gonna pan out in the quarterfinals, especially that they have great stars. Now we have tough matchups coming up in the quarterfinals, with Italy going head-to-head against USA, Germany competing with Latvia, Lithuania and Serbia, and then finally Canada and Slovenia. It's gonna be really tough to predict how the quarterfinal is gonna go, but here's my take on who's gonna progress and who's gonna be leaving the tournament at that stage. From the first game, Italy and USA, I see Team USA coming with a win, but in the last minutes of the game, as the Italians will give them a tough time. Germany and Latvia, I see Germany coming on top. Unfortunately, this will be the end of the Latvian fairy tale in this tournament. Dennis Schroeder and the experienced veteran German team will, in my opinion, manage to control the tempo of the game and come on top. From the Lithuania versus Serbia, that's going to be a tough one to predict. But I see the Serbians being more determined, more experienced, especially in the previous games where we saw them being able to really get the game in the last minutes of the 4th quarter. So this is where I think Serbia will be able to knock out Lithuania out of the quarterfinal. And lastly, Shea Alexander versus Luka Magic, Luka Doncic. It's going to be very tough, very, very tough game. It's probably one of the most anticipated games to watch, with Germany against Latvia. Both games are going to be really, really close. But I see Slovenia coming on top here. Canada, we've seen them, I would say, not consistent in their game of basketball. In some games they slipped, like in front of Brazil. Slovenia have been more consistent, and I in general see the Slovenian basketball being able to overcome the Canadian NBA superstars in this game. So this takes us to the final. In the final, I see Germany and Slovenia being the final contestants. Yes, Germany will knock out USA. Unfortunately, the Germans have been more consistent than the USA team. They've been up to the level of expectations in most games. And whether it's their defense or offense, they've been really on top. Serbia-Slovenia is going to be a classic. It's going to be really hard to predict. But again, Luka's team, with his leadership as well, will manage to make it to the final. Now, the final, Germany-Slovenia, is one of the great matchups, I would say, that everyone would be looking forward to. It's going to be a very, very tough final to predict who's going to win the game, especially that if you look at how the tournament started, Many people were vouching for France, Spain, even Team USA, to win the tournament, but very few expected or would expect Germany and Slovenia to get to the finals. However, in my humble opinion, I would say Germany would come on top and they would be the world champions of this FIBA World Cup 2023. So there you have it. This was my roundup of the top performances that we've seen in the group stage and the round of 16, and also the biggest surprises and shockers that the FIBA World Cup 2023 tournament has shown us. So what do you think of my predictions for the quarterfinal, semi-final, and the final? Let me know in the comments below, and make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel for any upcoming content that we'll be sharing with you very soon. Thank you so much.